science, and I'm gonna get into the magic in the 4 years.
Okay. So everyone understands English, I assume, right? Yeah. Good. If you want, like, you can sit closer. If I'm not sure, is it anything working? So it turned out to be that I'm not only the first presenter, but also the last. So basically a headliner of today's stand-up show. Thanks for having me. Unexpected first time in Maribor. Just a couple of words about myself. So I'm originally from Belarus. I've been living in Slovenia for about 8 years, so that's my home right now. And here I've decided to tackle some serious problems we have in the world. I'll talk about them a bit later. Basically, you see, okay, what's up? Anything? No home videos, like nothing. That's good. Let me check. I wanted to find some cool pictures here, but
no news.
That's fine. I know it just doesn't load all of it. That's fine. So today I want to talk, like, basically why I'm building what I'm building, why I use no-code tools for this, and why they work great for what I'm doing. And I believe it's a universal tool everyone can apply if you want to kind of prototype or try to test a new product, or maybe even make a fully working app itself. Okay, still what's up, right? So the tool, so let me just open the website. I'm not affiliated anyhow with this tool, but it's called Coded.io. Like, we'll talk about it. So to begin with, and you can interrupt me at any point in time, ask any questions. Like, it's more of a conversation than a presentation. I'm not going to have PowerPoint slides. I'll be just jumping between different screens and showing you a bunch of hopefully useful for you information. So we'll talk first about the start of what I'm building, and then I can give you some very tactical, actionable items that you can do to improve your well-being and essentially prevent burnout or fix your burnout. It's all kind of science-backed. And feel free to interrupt me. So basically, what I want to talk about is, like, how to hack your body clock to enhance well-being and performance to manage burnout. So a couple of words about me. So I have 7+ years in product management. I've been researching biology, circadian rhythm, sleep, nutrition, a bunch of stuff. By myself, I read like 300+ research papers on these topics, and like, I kind of know stuff. So basically, I know what I don't know. Let's say this is how deep I went. I worked at different companies in roles like project manager, product manager. And eventually, about 2 years ago, I decided to quit like one German startup and actually try to solve the problem of shift workers. And I'll explain why. So basically, 4 years ago, right before COVID, I met Sarah, and this is, do you see him? Okay, so this is my girlfriend. She's a nurse, and when we met, she looked like a zombie. Like, she hates me putting this picture, but I must show like what was happening with her. Basically, she was super tired all the time, and because, has anyone worked night shifts? Has anyone partied late? How did it feel? So it felt good, right? Next day or next couple of days. So basically, I tried to understand why she feels like this, right? And this is what she was saying, like 32, and I feel great. So basically, it turned out that people that work at night actually die 10 to 15 years earlier than everyone else. So let's say if life expectancy, I don't know, in Slovenia, how much, like 80 years, 75, I don't know. So like these people will die at the age of 65, maybe 70, because of some chronic conditions or cancer will develop. And there are particular biological reasons for that. So basically what I try to understand is, when we were living together, it was extremely difficult to synchronize our lives. Like, she was like sleeping after night shift. She was sleeping maybe 2 hours. She was forgetting stuff. She got wrinkles, tired. Like, I was like, I'm not quitting, right? Like, I need to fix it. So, and basically I decided to help her actually adjust the night shift work and then adjust back to the day shift work. This is how I started building InShift, right? And basically it turned out that out of every 1 of 5 people, actually including people who are working in restaurants, like, work some kind of night shifts, very late hours. It disrupts the biological sleep-wake cycle, and people end up having chronic conditions like cancer, diabetes. People simply don't sleep well. It affects memory. And it turned out to be that there are approximately 700 million people around the world that experience this problem. So 1 in 5 working people. And this problem is not solved. So 97% of people working nights do not biologically adapt to working at nights. And as a result, let's say the bus drivers fall off the bridge, or doctors make kind of critical errors when running operation, or nurses just like, make crazy injections of insulin. So there are a lot of accidents happening because of that. And at the same time, there are people that travel to other time zones. Like, has anyone traveled to like Japan, US, somewhere far? Did you have any jet lag? How did it feel? Yeah, did you get quickly out of it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. What was easier? Where was it easier to fly?
West is easy, east is shit.
Huh? Yeah, basically that's very common, because essentially it's much easier for us to go to sleep later than to go to sleep like, go to sleep at 7 in the evening, but you can't fall asleep. So basically we realized that essentially there are people that need to move their biological clock to another time zone. Like if you usually go to sleep at 10 and you fly to Japan, now you need to like go to bed at 5 in the evening, which is kind of crazy. So, and basically we decided like, okay, how to solve? Like I took time, I read a bunch of research papers for half a year. And then I basically found the tools that allow you to shift your biological clock to another time zone. It happens not that fast. So you cannot like, let's say if and by the way, there is no such thing as chronotype. For most of people, there's no such thing like night owl, morning lark. These things don't exist. So basically I decided to solve this problem of shift workers. So make sure when people go and work night shifts, they perform very well. They don't make errors. They don't get sick, right? Which is like super crazy and super frequent. And as a result, when they come home, let's say at 8 in the morning, they can go to bed, right? That was intention. But solving this problem required a lot of things, like, because essentially in order to move your body clock, is everyone bored? Like, is it interesting?
Yeah.
So basically, if you want to move your body clock to another time zone, you need to kind of adjust your environmental signals, because we have like a brain. In the brain, we have a particular area, which through the eye kind of gets signals, and kind of you're in train, you speed up or slow down the body clock in the brain. And basically what you can do, we approximately have 24 hours cycle. It's a bit more. And by seeing light in the morning and avoiding light in the evening, you kind of keep this clock close to 24 hours. So you wake up at pretty much consistent time. But we all screw it up because of artificial lights, because of late meetings, Slack and stuff. And this is how I burn out myself. So, I just realized it would be easier to explain what I'm doing and then show how I'm doing. So basically, and what happened is that while researching, I tried to solve problem for my girlfriend, and I realized that I had this problem, and I actually burned out twice. And at some point, like when you burn out, I'm not sure, has anyone burned out? Did anyone, your employer is not here. Okay, so basically I burn out. That really sucks. You don't want to see your laptop, and you really feel, before you were sprinter, and then you just want to avoid kind of like stadium, you hate it. And then I really felt like, I would be very happy becoming Amish, and just live with a bunch of chickens outside, like no laptop, no Slack, no product management. And it turned out to be that a lot of these problems were actually happening because, among other reasons, right? Like unsustainable workload. I had a lot of workload, but it turned out to be that we need to have sustainable ways to recover from the workload. And recovery doesn't mean going for vacations or taking sabbatical for 6 months. You should do it every day. You literally can have certain practices that will allow you to recover and feel great, have proper levels of dopamine, oxytocin, your hormone profile will be in order. And as a result, you will feel really great at work. You will sleep well. You will wake up and feeling very energized. So basically, back then I was working still a German startup, and we're building some software for hardware market. It was crazy, and I just tested my blood. So it turned out that I have very high prolactin, inhibited dopamine, and low testosterone. So my testosterone was 60-year-old man. Even though I exercised, I had daughter ring, I was eating healthy, but something was off. And as it turned out that what happened is, I was basically confusing my body clock every single day. And confusing my body, because essentially, the evolution told us, look, you have sunrises, sunsets, this is predictable cycle. It happens every day. As a result, evolution adjusted us. And it releases cortisol in the morning. It's actually really good for us, right? It tries to lower cortisol in the evening when you need to go to bed. And the key kind of signal for our brain in order to control the whole cycle is the light exposure. And it turned out to be that we do not get enough of light in the morning. Has anyone watched Andrey Huberman? Have you heard of Andrey Huberman? So he talks a lot about this. So basically what happens is we have crazy disbalance of light exposure. Like our ancestors used to spend significantly more time outdoor than us. And like in many cases, if you look at things like depression or like feeling a bit low, in terms of mood, all of these things in most of cases, right? Like they can be solved with proper light exposure. And we will dig deeper into that. And as a result, when you have dysfunctional body clock, it messes up production of hormones like testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. Like you actually feel less motivated. Like your insulin cycle is completely screwed up. So as a result, when you eat food, it cannot get digested and sugar cannot get transported in your body, and you just gain weight. Like you can eat exactly the same food, and you can spot like if you were short on sleep for a couple of days, you will start gaining weight. It's related to insulin sensitivity, and it's a result of dysfunctional body clock. We can talk about this. So basically, and if you don't sleep at the right portion of your day, because let's say you can still go and spend in bed 8 hours, but only 5 hours of this time will be your biological night. Because, we tend to watch Netflix before bed, we tend to answer the last email, or just think about some work, or finish unfinished task. And as a result, we go to sleep significantly later than our body needs. And then you flip the switch in the bathroom, it's like fucking burns your eyes. Like, it's extremely bright. It's like it can be up to like 300 times brighter than we need in the evening. Because in nature, the sun is down, you don't have light, like even from the fire it cannot come. So basically, as a result, if you want to be healthy, you need to follow your circadian cycle. Like basically, we have this cycle where we have ideal hours for physical activity, sleeping, exercising, eating. Like there is exactly a kind of science-approved time. And the closer we live to the cycle, the better we feel. So for instance, if you feel sometimes, does anybody feel sleepy in the afternoon, like really, really down? It actually doesn't necessarily happen. Like you can be fully recovered, but this is the time when we have kind of this dip in energy. And even if you kind of measure our brain activities, we are not as productive. As a result, this time is the worst for work. While if you look in the evening, is anybody very kind of active in the evening until 9 o'clock maybe? So it happens, for instance, because your dopamine rises, because you accumulate more kind of sleep pressure hormone or like chemical adenosine, and body is like, you feel a lot of pressure, you want to sleep, and body, in order to compensate it, tries to increase your dopamine, and you have a lot of kind of this creative energy. But if you do it too late, with too bright light, you screw up your sleep, you screw up your morning, you push more things for the evening, and the vicious cycle starts. More about this later. So basically, that's the foundation of circadian rhythm, that we have this kind of brain in the main clock in the brain, which controls all other clocks in all other cells, which controls, I think, close to 70% of all the genes. So you can understand how powerful it is. And if these things gets misaligned, you're screwed. Like, and basically what happened, like when I started adjusting and normalizing my circadian rhythm, my testosterone grew by 50%. So, and when your sex hormones are in order, they actually also balance your things like dopamine and oxytocin. And as a result, even though you have very big load, very difficult things, a lot of stress, they just feel easier. Like you can just do more stuff, right? That's why it's so important to take care of your circadian rhythm, of your sleep and wake cycle. But getting back to shift workers and jet laggers, they live in continuous jet lag. So the kind of the condition we were talking about, it's called jet lag, when our internal hours are completely misaligned with our activity patterns. So basically, we are inside when we must be outside. Like think in the past, you need to go feed the cow, you need to hunt someone, you need to collect berries, take care of your chickens or something, right? Now you can be in Slack until 6 in the evening, right? And this is really bad for us, right? So basically what we do, we understand this mechanism as in shift. We basically collect all this information, and what we do, we give people a recommendation about their light exposure, food timing, caffeine timing, sleep timing, and basically by following these recommendations, people will naturally move you their wake up hours to earlier or later. Is it clear? So basically how it would look for a final user, I know something broke, but basically we built kind of something like that. We have like a calendar. I know it doesn't work, but basically we give recommendations related to sleep time, nap time, when green color is basically, that's a problem, right? So the idea is like we tell, if you eat at this time, you will give your body right signal to prepare you for the upcoming flight. We have some, here. So, and as a result, you need to kind of use some tools like light therapy, glasses. It's very complicated process, but I will explain how we made it simpler. So, and we basically, when we realized like, okay, there is a problem, there are a lot of people that don't solve it, a lot of people get jet lagged, and we know how the app would kind of look, like how to deliver recommendations, we needed to build it. So, and when we had our iOS guy asking, like, can we do it in the app? Like, just, so right there without backend, I said, like, let me check. I need to check if all the recommendations can be done there. I thought it would take me a week. It took me 3 months to realize, like, no chance it's not going to be done on the phone. So basically what I did, I was using Coda. Has anyone heard of Coda before? Does anybody use Notion?
Yeah.
Notion, Google Sheets? So, okay. So basically, Coda is kind of like Notion on steroids. Like it's kind of Notion freedom with power of formulas from Excel. Makes sense. So, and essentially, what we needed to build, we needed to build a recommendation system for people. So, and in order to do that, I use Coda because it gives you freedom of a document. So as you see, you just create a new document, which is like a backend that I just created for my developer. And here I have a bunch of pages. So for instance, I have a page with different flights, and it's the same. Like I can create a table. I can create a timeline view. So it's essentially create one block and you can see it in different views. If you want, it's a calendar, it's card, it's Kanban board, the same like Notion. But the coolest stuff is it also allows you to use, is it called relative databases or relational databases? Relational databases. So basically, in my case, I had a database called work schedule. So that's a clear example. Let's say we had one guy from Austin who needed to fly to Hawaii, and then he needed to fly back to Austin, and then he needed to fly like to Japan. So his schedule was changing all the time. And what we did, we basically created this table where we could kind of synchronize his Google Calendar, because Coda allows you to view your calendar activities. So let's say we have a calendar, right? Like there's something. I can see all of my events in Coda. So if you go to Coda G Calendar, you actually have a pack that allows you to connect with all the major tools we use. So basically, if you want, you can see all of your Google Calendar activities in the form of table. You can turn them into to-dos. You can link them with your emails if you want. Because basically what Coda does, it uses a lot of different packs that allow you to connect data in one place. So, and this is why it's so powerful. So for instance, we can use Gmail and Coda. And this pack, for instance, allows you see, and the cool stuff that a lot of people already prepared and thought instead of you, they created the whole universe of a bunch of really cool docs where, well, let's say you can connect your Gmail with your CRM system. You can connect Gmail with Slack. You can see some emails in your calendar. You can, basically the possibilities are endless. And this is why I chose this, not like Excel. So basically I wanted to recreate the whole backend, the whole kind of design of the app in the form of relational databases. So basically, and so what I did, I just outlined what would be the user experience. So I realized, okay, I have users, I need a database of users. They have some kind of working days, right? Like, okay, I need to have database of working days, like I did here. One sec. And then, for instance, I need to know their sleep. So what I did, I simply integrated Oura Ring back. Has anyone heard about Oura Ring? So basically a sleep tracker that you can wear on your finger, and it tells you your sleep cycles. So, and what I can do, I can just import all of this data from Aura of a user. So essentially what we did. So our experience was the following. Let's say we find a traveler, or like we actually tested it on mom of 5 children from Metlika. We wanted to find the hardcore user, like, who's like kind of, okay, low education, 5 kids, very challenging lifestyle, night shifts, and see if we can help her. So when we started testing her sleep, we just like, okay, here is Oura Ring. Just wear it and we'll see how you sleep, how you recover. So her sleep was a mess. Like basically all of her recovery metrics were like lady 70, 80 years of age. This is how bad it gets. Okay. And one of the main metrics we used was HRV. Have you heard of HRV? Yes. Heart rate variability. Basically, it's a way to see whether your nervous system relaxed or not. It measures the heartbeats, the distance between heartbeats. Am I correct? So,
basically the variability.
Yeah.
It's in the word, and for some reason it is supposed to be not very nice. It's supposed to be irregular.
So basically, the more variability of your heartbeat you have, the more relaxed your nervous system is. And
change.
Yeah, and that means your body recovers very well if it's high. If it's low, you're dead. And basically what we did, we improved. I have somewhere on my LinkedIn. I'll show you. Right. So basically what we did, we sent for Oura Ring, and we created the whole mobile app within Coda. So the crazy stuff, let me see it here. So if you go to Coda, maybe I'm mistaken. I hope no personal data will be exposed. It's not GDPR friendly. No, I mean, there should be no issues. But basically, what we did, we created like a setup. So essentially, you have a page or you have a table. Like let's say, we created different types of shifts she works. You see like morning shift. Should I make it bigger? Is it clear? Good. So essentially, we had like a shift start, a shift end, duration, different days, types of days, essentially, right? Like off. And then we needed to populate her work schedule. So she set up her work schedule for every day. It's the same table. Would you just use fantastic group feature? Let me just adjust the width of columns. This is a simple column, right? But basically, she fill up the schedule for the upcoming days, so we know how her sleep schedule should follow the changes. Then we needed to find recovery issues. So basically, I have like 300 different columns where I break down every single step of detection. So basically, we saw if we take the research papers and we see, okay, you need to move your body clock by 10 hours because you work morning shift and then you need to switch to night shift and then back. Do you have enough time to gradually move your body clock to another time zone? Because basically, let's say if you usually go to sleep at 10 in the evening and then you need to go to sleep at 8 in the morning, you need to move clock by 10 hours, which is at least 4 to 5 days of adjustment, right? If you work next day night shift, there is no chance to adjust. So you'll be just heavily sleep deprived and you will be sleeping in the middle of your biological day. Our goal is to align actual sleep and biological sleep. I hope it's not boring. Is it clear? No. So basically, do you agree? So basically, we try to basically notice these recovery issues and notify. So, and you can build very custom logic. So if you see each card is essentially a row in a table, and basically you can see the same table in multiple views. So like if I go here, you can see statistic published doc map. So you see this doc has like 69 tables and 113 views. Where the whole beauty of Coda is that, let's say, if you want to build like a food delivery app, right? You can just create, okay, I have table of orders, I have table of users, I have table of addresses. You can cross-link all of them. And you don't need to really nail it down. You don't need to make it beautiful. You can just create a bunch of views of the same tables. Have this view, like I want to see orders grouped by delivery map. I want to see like orders grouped by meals. Like you can have full customization of this tool. So, and what we did, we basically spotted recovery issues. Then we imported her sleep periods. So we saw how many hours in total sleep she got. And we could also try to predict her melatonin cycle, because it's such a complex science that it's extremely difficult to detect your circadian cycle, where exactly you are in your biological cycle. Usually, the approximation for detection of your biological cycle is the melatonin release. As you maybe know, approximately 2 hours before your habitual sleep time, our melatonin level in the body rises sharply. It's not a sleep hormone, actually. It's first of all antioxidant. So this hormone helps you to kind of fall asleep, but not stay asleep. And the bright lights, they actually inhibit this production. And as a result, basically what we need to do, we need to have a predictable way to measure it. The most predictable way is to measure temperature, but people need to swallow a pill. So that was the whole complication of building our startup, because it was really difficult to predict circadian cycle of a particular human. That's why we used certain approximations based on research papers where we tracked sleep from Aura. We put all of this information inside the CODA, right? And right here we analyze. So as you see, here we see all of her sleeps. We see the sleep period on that day, how she slept. Here I have a bunch of very custom made calculations where I was kind of finding different averages. And the cool stuff about CODA that you can do it in very transparent way. Like basically, instead of creating a very, very complicated formula with a lot of connections and functions, you can break it down into multiple steps, like columns, like, okay, find first averages. So you can easily spot a mistake. Essentially, what you do, you kind of are learning as you're doing. Like you can easily go back to the previous step and change formula, similar like in Excel. But it's just much more powerful than that. So, yeah, so as what we did, so basically we got information from her Aura ring by using Aura Pack. We could see her sleep. As a result, we predicted her melatonin cycle. And based on this prediction, we generated optimal sleep schedule. I think we need to go some weeks before we're testing it. But basically what we did, we could generate, here. So basically here we generated her night shifts. You see, that's another view. So this is essentially a table, which I represented as a calendar. Does anyone have questions? Is it clear what I'm talking about? So essentially, we see her night shifts. Let me just maybe do that. So we see her night shifts and we see her sleep. So we can approximately understand her habitual sleep. Then we see how it fits with her night shift. So for instance, she sleeps until 5, and she wakes up and goes to morning shift, right? Happening on 17th of October. And then we know her morning shifts end because then next week she has night shifts. And as a result, her sleep time moves significantly, right? Like she was waking up at 5, now she needs to go to sleep at 7. Like that's insane schedule. And in order to move her body clock, at least partially, right? So she could sleep at least partially during her biological night. We were trying to adjust her sleep windows, right? So you see, sleep moves from 11:30 in the evening to like 1:30, 3:30, etc., etc. And then on top of it, we were also giving certain recommendations, like, for example, let's say if you have sleep, light. So when should you avoid light? Like when should you keep your room dark? You see, so essentially we have a huge table where each entry was giving a particular recommendation, like sleep, light, food, exercise, caffeine. It should load. And let me just clear it all. So you understand? This is how many events we had, right? Like this is unbearable. We were synchronizing it also with Google Calendar. So what we did, we actually press one button. We also have automation. This is what's cool about CODA. You can automate almost everything. So essentially when we generated a particular schema of recommendations, we just press button synchronize and it synchronizes with Google Calendar. So she could open and she can see separate sub-calendar for sleep, sub-calendar for food, etc., etc. Basically because we didn't build this back then, right? That was a way for us to test. But what was also cool is that we could give her recommendations in need to adjust some formula. But basically, you can build a card which would have buttons. Like you see, like you have a card which is like food, and you can press, you can log, you can mark it as to do. So basically, you can make functioning mobile app, not so pretty, but you can make it work for the purposes of tests. Like if you're a developer or designer, you actually need to write 0 lines of code, right? Maybe I have somewhere. And at the end of the day, what we also did, since there is a pack of Philips lights, have you heard of Hue lights? Philips Hue? So we synchronize it with her lights in the house. We send her Aura Ring, smart lights, like the app on Android, right? And basically, when it was time for her to wake up, she didn't need to do anything. Like the lights were lighting up automatically. In the evening, when we needed to dim lights, let's say to red kind of spectrum, very dimming and chilling, it was happening automatically. So our idea was, if it's hard for people to follow a lot of recommendations, how can we eliminate some kind of barriers? So ideal product is where you need to do nothing, right? Ideal solution for that problem of adjusting your sleep would be just to take a pill and go to sleep at any time you want. But unfortunately for now, biologically, it's not possible. So like you cannot just move someone's sleep or wake up time to another time zone and do not break something in the body. So, but you can basically sedate people heavily, like with sleep pills, but it's not going to be a high quality sleep. And you can track it with like Whoop, whatever, Apple Watch. So yeah, but as you see, Coda allowed us to track her schedule. So she could see it in her app, right? We could track all of her naps and sleep windows. We can build custom table. I will show you just example. The sound here. No, that was old dog. Because after that, I made a lot of different versions. Like that's another beauty. You can have a changelog. Just copy the document and you have always up-to-date item. And if something broke, you can always go to the previous version where stuff was okay. So anyway, I could open it also on the app, but in the app, it looks a little bit different. But basically on the app, it looks quite nice. Okay. So for many tests, you can do that. You can use it. So essentially what I managed to achieve, I have somewhere data here on my LinkedIn. So what's that? Pretty good. So I think I've been somewhere here. So what we did, we improved recovery of 1 of 5 children. Basically, she got 3.5 hours extra sleep. And basically, what we did, we didn't just start intervention immediately. We took 3 weeks and we were just observing her for 3 weeks. And then we took 3 weeks and we were giving her recommendations specifically about night shift because she struggled the most. And when we compared 2 weeks back to back, 3 weeks without us and 1 week of night shift with us and without, we gave her 3.5 hours of sleep extra, then more deep sleep, but that was the craziest metric and we couldn't be just happier because her heart rate variability increased on average by 42%. So she moved from like age of 70 to 80 to age of like 40, 35. So this is how powerful the alignment of your sleep schedule is. And as you see, it was happening for every single day of her night shift. Every day. There was no kind of slowdown. Also, average heart rate dropped for every single day, as you see here. And the lowest heart rate, basically, it's another indicator of good recovery and good sleep. So yeah, that made us very happy. And that was our way to test the product with the least amount of development because it turned out to be building a solution requires ideally building custom hardware, mobile app that synchronizes with a bunch of smart devices, that synchronizes with your smart lights. And it also gives you a recommendation. Imagine like kind of like a calendar, right? And it's an insane amount of development. This thing allowed us to just kind of test and see how it works. And we use Coda for that. For another traveler, Nick Gray, like quite popular YouTuber actually. So he was flying to Japan, then to Bali, then somewhere else, and then back to Austin. And there we used simply like a WhatsApp and we were okay, it didn't load. But basically what we did basically a support in the chat. So all the recommendations were visible in his Google Calendar. We didn't give any Coda. We were just asking like literally on the phone, like, hey, what time is it in Bali? At what time did you wake up? How do you feel? And based on these kind of cues, I was readjusting the program, just like logging different melatonin release, pressing generate. And because the whole point is there are things that don't scale. And if I wanted to help like 2 people to generate for them schedule adjustment, like sleep, light, it's like a bunch of different recommendations where each of them depends on the next one, right? What happens is you don't have enough of bandwidth. Like you will be just choked. Like you cannot help one person because it takes so many calculations. With code, I could easily automate it because I defined the rules, press generate, regenerate, and it did everything for me. I press synchronize with calendar and synchronize with calendar. I press synchronize with Philips Hue light, it did it. So by doing that, you can actually deliver your recommendations or like your app in the apps we are already using. It could be Slack, it could be Google email, and this is why the PAX I think is by far the most powerful feature on Coda, which other apps unfortunately don't have. So yeah, so you see you have Microsoft Teams, Figma. So there is just tons, like even things like Snowflake, or Tableau, like very custom tools, GitHub. You can control your pull requests. Like it's literally powerhouse of whatever you want to do. And then also when we wanted to test like our product with one Danish company that had shift workers, I built the whole shift management system. Like this system would probably cost, I don't know, a couple of billion to develop. Like if you want to do it custom. Here with the power of tables, I'll just show you an example. If I can improve I cannot improve the code. But essentially here, I managed to generate like a schedule for 150 people, basically grouped by a day, grouped by the type of like department and stuff. And then you can also create like a flow where you kind of request substitution. When someone is absent, he can notify it about sick leave. And based on all of this information that you track in one place, this is example of mobile app actually. This is how Coda works on the app. So you can see, you can have kind of like tabs here. One sec. So you see like basically your pages, your documents at the bottom, they turn into tabs. So it actually looks like the mobile app. And here you can check when you're working at what time in which department. If you're, let's say, sick or tired or you cannot come, you can request vacation, you can request sick leave. As you see, there are buttons and you can pretty much build whatever you want here. And at the end of the day, it can go all the way. You can synchronize this document with document of account, and that will automatically calculate, like, how much salary you need to pay, who was absent. You can run analytics. So if you really want to start, let's say, with a new project and you don't want to write like a long PRD or draw a bunch of designs, you can just try for yourself. Like, okay, so I have list of users. I have list of actions. I have list of that. And you can actually connect everything. And when you come with this to developers, or if you're a developer yourself, you can use it as a draft to build your actual backend. And this is what we're doing. We basically tested it worked, right? Now we will go through all the 69 tables we have, remove all the garbage that they created, right? And just literally just redo everything we see here in with normal backend, with normal function, without a bunch of formulas. So this is why I love Coda so much. And that's amazing tool. So any questions about Coda?
How many hours do you need to
build the whole thing?
Yes, to explore Coda?
To
learn.
I would say it depends to what extent you want to do. Like, let's say if you have particular tasks, like, because I have very complex tasks, right? And I spent like maybe like 3 months just playing with tool, right? But they have very, like, basically the thing that will take you the most of time is formulas of Coda. They have the whole library where they explain how you can look up other tables. For instance, you can say, look up the table A, but only values that were like 7 days old, and make sure that like first 3 digits include values from that column, right? And it's like these logical formulas, once like they're pretty quickly to earn. You see like here. So you have AND, you have false, you have typical if conditions. Then you can run multiple actions, for example, for every value in that table, like, I don't know, multiply it by 5, compare it to value from another table. So I would say formulas only took me some time to practice, but they have super responsive support. So sometimes they even hop on the calls like, look, I want to do this. And they have some insanely smart Indian. He's like, how do you do that? So, I would say like you can go really far. Like, I don't know, in the math, like let's say in a month, like if you take like every evening just to learn something, just try something, let's say, I don't know, I want to filter my emails, right? Or I want to color my Google Calendar in a particular way. I want to see where I spend most of my time during meetings. I want to organize my Figma prototypes. Like you can also do it here, right? So I would say it's not so time consuming because Notion formulas are disaster. I don't know if you ever tried. Like it's formulas here, I would say simpler than in Excel. So that would be my understanding. Yeah. But the coolest stuff is relational databases and that you can trigger some buttons. You can just save a lot of time of this manual repetitive work. Yeah. But I would say the biggest value, like every time before I used Airtables, I'm not sure if you know about Airtables. I used it to build another like app for food management, calorie counting and stuff. It was much more complex than this. Yeah. So that's why I recommend it. It's easier than Excel. And like the point is you don't need to do everything perfectly. You can just like leave something halfway cooked and come later to this. And you can find a lot of great templates also in the library and packs. And if you think about the team, actually the investment is much cheaper than having Notion, for instance, because here you can have different permission. You can have permission of like architect, the one who creates the doc, and others that are just users. You know, you kind of set up the flow for your team, like let's say approval of documents or like some brainstorming or something like that, or like voting. They have cool features here. By the way, Coda, if you want to learn how the best companies run their operations, let's say the guy who created Coda, his name is Shishir Mehrota. He was, I think, director of product at YouTube. And this guy is the best guy at operations. And they have a lot of great playbooks for design, for product, for engineering. And their culture of making decisions is fantastic. And you can have like people from VCs, like the top people from industry, they come and create their own documents just so you can take their workflow and try it in your team. And this is what's great about Coda, because like I couldn't learn anywhere as much as I learned from here. And then, of course, they have AI, like summarized notes and stuff. So that's, yeah. Any questions about Coda? So, yeah. Oh, yeah. And at the end of the day, what we did, we actually, let me show you another example, because it didn't end here in the kind of non-pretty document. We created another document which gathers all of the separate backends we generated for our users in order to use the API of Coda and pull actual data within our iOS app. So here we have admin panel, like a separate doc. It should load, maybe it will crash, I don't know. So yeah, you see we have a bunch of people here, like our users, and they have dedicated page. Like this is our iOS developer. And we just created like his page, like a Notion page, imagine. And we synchronized two massive tables from other documents where we generated all these recommendations. Like, for example, here, like sleep or fast or dim lights and screens with some description, right? So there is like kind of an action with a description, kind of an event, right? And he just used it as our backend. This is our backend right now. And it spared a lot of time. So this is how we use the API to generate the mobile app. Yeah, I think from a technical perspective, this is everything. Now what we're going to do, we're going to improve our app. Like we have some ideas. I don't know. We have a bunch of garbage mockups here that I made, but yeah, we want to improve the app kind of significantly and add some visual elements and videos. So we can have some cards and it will be more interactive. So the moment we have it realized, like we can still fully rely on Coda, by the way. Like, unless you have like millions of rows, you're not going to have any problems. So that's the way to organize your backend, like in Lightweight. But then, yeah, we'll try to rebuild everything. Because the cool stuff is that you can try kind of like this sandbox where you try to use stick and shit, like to fix something. And then you just recreate it in proper high quality code. But it's much easier to trace down all the changes, every single formula, every single logic you wrote in the product. So yeah, that's it about the Coda. If you want, I have a bunch of I have a bunch of advice about like sleep, food timing, circadian rhythm, like kind of when to avoid light, when to eat. So I can walk you through this if it's useful, or we can just have Q&A or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we can go to Q&A since he's already passed through.
Yeah. Then.
And I have a question. Where are you currently with your startup, like in general? What's
Yeah.
the phase?
So now our phase is the following. We decided not to fundraise. Like that was our conscious decision. If we launched it in 2021, maybe we would raise. It was much easier. But after like pitching and spending so much time on raising, like we spent like 2 months just preparing the pitch, and I was like, fuck it, I'd rather talk to users and build an app. And plus, so we decided to bootstrap. We got some grants and put our savings in. And basically what we did, we tested it like with shift workers and with business travelers. And our job now is to launch a concierge service for executives that fly for at least 3 time zones. Basically, we realized that there are a lot of people whose time is extremely valuable. And in order to build, like the whole idea, this app is hard to scale. Like the problem requires hardware, software, and certain kind of psychologically optimized app for recommendation. So what we do instead, we will be kind of giving app, but we'll still be heavily involved into kind of discussion with our user. So we will basically like reminding them, hey, we'll be charging them like $3,000 to $5,000 for like, VP of marketing, let's say from some pharmaceutical company who flies to another time zone to Japan and then back, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll be just basically supporting it with an app, and we'll keep improving our app up until moment when we can kind of make it public out of beta. So the most important, like for us, the biggest concern was that it doesn't work. Because like, if you give people recommendations about sleep and you completely scrub their sleep, like you have such a dangerous situation that you can break their sleep forever. This is why I needed to like read so many research papers to make sure it's 100% safe and it works 100%. So now when we know about this, we will kind of work with smaller number of users with not so perfect app and kind of provide more in person.
Cool. Any other questions?
He was reading.
The first one is semi-technical. When you said there's the app, is that built to lay it, or is it just a web view basically? So you open a web page, or is it an actual iOS?
You mean Coda app or our?
Like when you showed some views where you had the suggestions, was that just a mock-up with what you're doing in the future, or?
No, it's actually it works. I just needed to double check. I have it on my phone.
Okay, and that's the like Coda out.
No. So Coda outputs something like this way. Show this. So the actual app in Coda looks something like that, right? So that was. Oh, sorry.
But and that's basically you get an APK out of it, and you can install it.
No. So basically, we were telling our users install Coda, and we were sharing a doc with them. So they were basically opening a document.
It's a Coda app that you install, and then you just log in, and then
exactly. So that's how it looked. But it could be different. It could be prettier also.
That and then the second bit is where you have the page for recommendations. The last slide that you had. You need 3 hours. A lot of the.
Thank you.
So the recommendations that you do for people.
Like it was like a calendar review or.
It was just like don't eat 3 hours before sleep. Don't wake up for 4 hours.
Yeah.
This,
you mean this one? No.
It doesn't matter. I can explain the question. I can explain the question.
You mean?
So this is basically you put this into formulas that then if I tell you, okay, I'm flying to this and I want to shift my sleep this way, based on this, you can give me recommendations. And that
it's generally simplifying, yes. It's just like maybe 10%. This is a general recommendation. If you were to fly to another time zone, it's very custom and personalized. Yeah.
And then the questions, which are kind of a two-parter, is A, will recommendations be the same for me and him, say we're flying to the same time zone? Or do you somehow have like influence on like, you know that he is different in some way or form? And B, do you feedback data from the really end or other things? Like if something works for him, it's not necessarily will work perfectly for me as well. Like, is there some feedback?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, it's always customized. So basically, we assume that no one has so-called kind of sleep disorders, because there are sleep disorders where some people have like 26 hours sleep cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're a teenager at the age of 21, your sleep cycle is close to 25 hours, right? And if you are, let's say, 65, your sleep cycle is maybe 23 hours and 45 minutes. So that's why all the grandmas wake up so late, early, like, and teenagers stay late. So if we assume that like you don't have these things and you go at the same time to sleep, and we were monitoring your sleep and it's approximately plus minus 15 minutes the same, recommendations will look very similar. Unless he has children, unless he has different working hours, he has different flight, right? He has different preferences. Like maybe he just prefers, let's say like, I cannot sleep until 10 in the morning because I need to drive a kid, right? And recommendation will adjust for him.
Okay. And this is always done basically in a phase of training, like you wear the ring, you do nothing, you learn all the patterns, you put those patterns in the formulas, and the formulas spit out here.
Yes. And plus also we have like a type form questionnaire where we like have like 16 questions. Then we just ask like, how do you prefer when your shift starts, when you fly this? Yeah, but majorly we rely only on ordering, but later we'll use Whoop.
And how much of it is automated, and how much is how much work do you as a consultant?
Yeah.
Somebody takes it.
Yes. So it's very much. The point is, I choose not to automate it fully because I want to check for any errors. Like this is how I'm doing now. Potentially, if I want, I can pretty much generate protocol fully automatically based on Aura sleep. But there is one particular issue with ordering and any other sleep tracker that, first of all, they're not as reliable. And second is, it's basically, there is this function of prediction of circadian rhythm, right? Like, so to simplify, you need to know when a person has the lowest core body temperature and the highest. When you have the lowest core body temperature, that means that's your start of circadian rhythm. This is when temperature starts to rise. This is when you wake up and stuff, right? And this point is extremely hard. Like almost no one can get it. There is no solution for that. And basically, I can track your sleep, for instance. And I can see you slept 8 hours, but I can tell you that, for instance, you went to bed 2 hours later than you should have. And as a result, like because you lost here REM sleep, here you lost deep sleep. So basically what I do right now as a consultant, I look into sleep architecture of a person. Like I open the graph, this graph where you see how sleep changes, and I just double check. Like, did person really tell me the truth, right? Did he drink a beer in the middle of the night or ate something? And by doing that, you can actually spot because you cannot just use start and end of sleep as your predictor. You need to rely on like deep sleep, timing, REM sleep, and this is what I'm doing. But essentially, yes, if I know a person is kind of prudent, like diligent, like I can just automate it for be doing everything by itself.
All right, thanks for all the answers.
Yeah.
Do you have red light on the image in the bottom?
Oh yeah. I got sun recently, so this is we use red light on it, like in the evenings all the time.
I have a similar light. I don't have it automated, but I put it on reddish. This spectrograph, you will see very good. Yeah,
it's what time is it? Depends. Like if you go to sleep at 10, now if you put blue blockers, it'll be better. But yeah, red light. If anyone struggles with sleep a little bit or wakes up tired, 90 minutes to 120 minutes before, eliminate all the blue light or bright light in general. Like just light up candle. That's fantastic. You know Huberman, right? So. But yeah, but Huberman doesn't always say it super correctly about red light. You can still use maybe because there is some wavelength,
yes,
of light, which is disruptive for your melatonin production, and another is not. So yeah, that's why I use blue light blocking glasses or red light in the evening. Like, with the phone, you can do that, like, not that, but like you can make completely red, and this is the best thing you can do for your phone. I can show you later how to do it, but this is like, when you think, you will not enjoy Instagram, you will not enjoy YouTube. That will be fantastic. Like, the best thing happened to you. And like, I even have it on TV. Like, but yeah, you cannot watch like Lord of the Rings and enjoy it. So, but yeah, like, and I would say, in terms of red light, in light in general does not affect all of us equally. There is approximately 50 times difference in sensitivity towards light. People with darker eyes might have less disruptions from the bright light, or if they saw, like outdoor light late in the evening. And people with lighter eyes could be like extremely sensitive. You're like SMS, melatonin. You're fucked up. So. Yeah, and like honestly, like these things, they really just like, if you sometimes feel down or you feel like I don't have as much energy as when I was 20, just test your hormones. Like I have a whole list of hormones that men should test. I also have something for women, and you can really see, because really just with using the right light, with the right light exposure, you will feel so much better. Like I told you, my testosterone raised by 50%, like completely naturally, just because I stopped doing wrong things for my body. And yeah, the power is insane. Yeah. And then this knowledge, especially for kids, what's happening now. We were very lucky. We had incandescent bulbs. We didn't have PlayStation and then Netflix and something. Yeah.
How that work? It's based on how parents raise.
But what I would say, yeah, it does depend. But for instance, we don't have simply healthy light at home. Like, for instance, the only healthy bulb that you can buy for the evening is Philips Hue. I tested all others. Or you can have like very small book light, free from blue light, which is super dim. And you need to simply walk in darkness at home and like pinch a couple of lights around. And this is the lighting environment you need, but and for kids especially, because the eyes are developing until the age of 12. And, one thing, it actually makes children's brains smaller. So if you have wrong light exposure, it affects their sleep. When they undersleep, it specifically regions responsible for memory, attention, and as a result, they need 2 years to compensate the damage that was done. So, and this is just light. I'm not talking about a lot of things. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna use that when I put him to sleep tonight at one slide.
Yeah, like basically the sun is down, switch to very dim lights. That's a simple thing. But there could be kind of a backfire, because you can become actually very early bird. So sometimes if you really eliminate a lot of light, I was struggling. Like I was like, fuck, it's 4:30, I'm not completely good, So you need to balance the light, yeah.
Okay, last question, and then we can mount into the. If I find you.
No beers.
No beers. Last question.
It's called immediately.
How can I watch Dallas Mavericks play and skate function is there?
Good question. Yeah, but
Record it and watch it the next day.
yeah.
I mean, I'm doing that. But
You can do the following. You can actually use InShift to move your body clock to American time zone, right? In the middle of the day, you're sleeping here and Mavericks. You feel good. Yeah, but the funny thing, Sasha, Sasha, my co-founder, he and his wife, they flew to Japan. And there's like, let's test our app. Sure. And his wife, she was like such a night owl. Like, no, I always go at 2 o'clock. I sleep until 10. No chance. And then they were reporting stories on Instagram. She said, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. And I think last time I went to sleep that early when I was a baby. and her sleep was like Aura rating like 95%, So we moved her from hardcore night owl to insane morning lark. So yeah, she also watched the Maverick. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you, Andrey, for traveling for the whole Slovenia, for Dolica, Maria. So yeah.
Have a good day.